What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first night of NBA Outlook recap. We've been doing the recaps nightly on the WNBA side already. For those of you that would like to see the first episode of NBA Outlook in its entirety, follow us on social. We got a link to our Patreon. As a patron, you have access to that. You also have access to the WNBA Outlook show that we're going to knock out tomorrow as well. So that's happening on Thursday and Saturdays. That's just two of the pieces of exclusive content that we do have available for patrons. That saying, we got Raymond Lyons. I'm Wilson Tarpe Jr. And second day of the NBA restart. Sir, let's get started. So, first game of the day was Orlando and New Jersey. No, Brooklyn. I'm old. It's that bad. All right. Evan Fournier, 24 points. Vooch, 22. The really ugly thing for this with the Nets is like they got off to a blistering hot start and nothing could happen for them afterwards. So what did you think about that? And like in terms of what it means for the Nets, and then what did you think? What did Orlando's performance show you?
I mean, as far as Brooklyn goes, like it's obvious they're missing a bulk of their talent. But it is an opportunity for the guys that are there to kind of up their stock a little bit. This is a great time for somebody to step up and show up. Could play themselves into a contract, or who knows. All eyes are on them on the league right now. So what better opportunity could you have to kind of establish yourself? Um, for Orlando, so I saw some good things. Something that stood out to me was Jonathan Isaacs and Markel Fultz. Even though they were on minutes restriction, the time they were on the floor, they were impactful, and pretty much immediately, like as soon as they got on the floor, they Isaacs had a block which led to a transition bucket from Fultz. So I'm pretty sure Steve Clifford's happy to see that. Um, much of Orlando's future is hinged on Jonathan Isaac's development. So it's always good to see him do some good things. Of course, we know Markel Fultz's story. Just want to see that guy succeed at this point. Uh, Vooch looked good. They started to kind of separate themselves when they were going through him. The first quarter was pretty even, like you said. Nets started off hot, but second quarter defensive intensity picked up. Magic started working through Vucevic, getting some easy buckets, and that kind of opened everything up. But also Kim Birch, a nice surprise off the bench for the Magic. He might slide Mo Bamba a little bit further down that bench. He had 12 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Had some good defensive presence on the inside. So Magic, they're looking pretty balanced right now, and if they can get into rhythm and kind of learn each other, then they could. Who knows? Like this is the thing about this bubble environment and this restart. Like it's basically a clean slate
Right.
in the middle of the season. Like this has never happened before. So like when do you get a chance to start fresh right before the playoffs? I mean, I know technically it's not starting over, but everybody's got a chance at this point. So and they look like they're trying to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. It's definitely a soft reset for the teams that are already like in playoff position. For the teams that are on outside looking in on the bubble, it's heightened for those folks. It's very, very much more heightened. For a team like Boston, which get to them a little bit later, or even another team out west where, you know, it's only a couple games between, pole position for the most part, but
Right.
between second and sixth, there's wiggle room. It's not like you're going to go from second to eighth, So
Yeah.
just to keep that in perspective as well. But for the snitch hotline game, which I guess this is what we're going to call this one, right?
They
If you
didn't
guys
listen,
don't,
man. They didn't listen.
if you guys don't know what we're talking about, definitely get over to Patreon, messing with Ray in his NBA Outlook segment. But go ahead, man. Phoenix beats the Washington Wizards 125-112.
Yeah, man, I called it. They should have got D Book caught up in something. But no, he had a good game, 27 points. DeAndre Ayton had 24 and 12. Suns had six players in double figures. Um, but this the defensive side of the floor has been Washington's Achilles heel all season. They've shown they can put up some points, but at, you got to stop somebody at some point. If you score 115 and give up 125, then guess what? But again, Washington's another team that's kind of coming in shorthanded, and I get it that all these guys are professionals, but we can be realistic about this and say if you go into this situation with your best players not here, then you're at a disadvantage. Um, but again, they're in the same situation as players from the Nets. They got a lot of two-way guys down here that could play themselves into a good spot. Jerome Robinson, nice showing, had 20 points. Rui continues his strong play. He had 21 and 8. I think for a guy like him, this is going to do wonders for his confidence and just giving him the feeling that he belongs. As a rookie coming to this situation, he's pretty much going to be the de facto go-to guy for the duration of the bubble period, and he's responding. He looked good in these scrimmages, and in their seeding game opener, he posted up a decent stat line, 21 and 8. With the thing that really kind of broke this game open was Phoenix had a 16-0 run in the second quarter, and Washington was just playing catch up ever since. They stops are already hard to come by for them. So if you just give up a stretch like that, where you're digging yourself into an even deeper hole as a poor defensive team, is pretty much curtains for you at that point. They did come out in the third quarter pretty strong. They came out, had a nice quick 7-0 run, but Phoenix was able to hold them off. Washington punched back again in the fourth quarter, but then Phoenix came back, 8-0 run, pushed the lead back up to 15, and it's pretty much for formality from there on out. Um, Phoenix was able to hold them off, end up winning the game by 13 points. But yeah, again, a whole lot of Devin Booker. Um, Rubio played well. Of course, DeAndre Ayton, he dominated on the inside. Um, but yeah, man, it is going to be a tough go for Washington. But it's good to see them fight. It's easy to just throw in the towel when the deck is stacked against you like this. But guys are down there earning their paycheck, and that's pretty much all you can ask for at this point.
Nah, definitely agree there. A good game that went to overtime, but it was definitely a good game nonetheless. The Blazers and the Grizzlies. I definitely caught a good chunk of that one. Nurk, it's crazy. These are one of the the benefits to kind of the season going on pause and then
Hmm.
restarting later for some teams. Portland's two different teams with him and without him. We saw them at times during that game with both Nurk and Whiteside on the floor, which was weird to see. But you know, uh, we know they got they're not they don't have the most lengthiest guys in the backcourt. I guess that's the nicest way to say it. So having bigs like that clog up space, and Nurk's also more skilled than he gets credit for. They played a big role in that. Obviously Jay and Ja and Jaron Jackson Jr. are always fun, but we watched a young team kind of lose their poise and not be able to close the game. Then we watch an older team go, all right, young bucks, seem like you don't really want it. Let me get that off you real quick. So, just your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, that's basically how this one went. It's going to be hard for a young team to win a game like this, especially against an experienced team. With players like Dame and CJ and Melo who have tons of experience and are used to being in these moments. Um, I think Portland's going to be a pretty tricky team in this situation because they're way better than their pre-shutdown record showed, and I just need people to be aware of that. It's easy to just look at them in the standings and say, oh, they fell off, and they're really not anything to worry about. But they're going to remind people real quick. Dame and CJ combined for 62 points tonight. Melo added 21. He's had an opportunity to find his rhythm and get in some decent shape. Through the shutdown. So man, you got to respect them, man. Like this is the NBA. Like don't just go out there and think that the situation is already in hand because they can sneak up on some folks. They were looking a little stagnant offensively, but they eventually got it going. You know, it started it started on a defensive end for them. Once they picked up on that end, the offense followed, which is usually the case. Another thing that helped them, they went to a 3 guard set. It gave them some speed, helped them attack in different ways offensively. So that was a good adjustment by Terry Stotts. He kind of just kept Whiteside on the bench for a little bit and went for this small lineup. It just helped them get going, speed the game up. When you got scores like Dame and CJ, it only helps to kind of get them moving and get them in the open court. For Memphis, the young guys showed up. Ja had 22, 11, and 5. Jaren Jackson, 33 points. He filled it up. Dylan Brooks played well. They're just young, and they'll get it eventually. And they're probably in a way better situation than most people had them in at the start of the season. Even before the shutdown, they were a playoff team. So yeah, just going to continue to watch them and see how they respond to this new environment because the learning curve for rookies and young guys in the NBA is already huge as it is, but then you throw this big wrench in the mix, So we're gonna see a lot about them. They're probably gonna grow up quick during this whole thing because they don't strike me as the type to fold under pressure. They might not succeed all the time, but they're definitely gonna scratch and claw their way to the end.
Nah, definitely. That's one thing I did respect from them is they weren't intimidated by the Blazers in the least bit. Dylan Brooks likes to get just bother any and everybody. Also for the Blazers, shout out to Gary Trent Jr. He had a really big game for them.
Hmm.
Being the third guard sometimes in the set you were talking about with Melo, and again having Nurk back allows you like, it's almost they're literally a different team than they were before everything shut down. Just be completely honest. All right, on to another game. If you're a Celtics fan, you didn't like anything that happened tonight. Um, Horrible night for Jason Tatum. Wonderful night for the guy who might be repeating as MVP. Giannis led the Bucks to 119-112 win over Boston. I guess one of the things I want to ask you about is I felt like some of Boston's shot selection late was just really bad. Like it felt like they let the defense off the hook. Giannis is walking around with 5.9 fouls, and like 3 possessions, jumpers went up. I did not understand it in the least bit. Then meanwhile, on the other end, they're coming right back to the rim, right back to the rim. Um, and then, what did you think about kind of Boston? It felt like at times they got exposed for having Tice on the floor without him being willing to shoot. Like they were just disrespecting him to a degree, just sagging off him like, it's whatever. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's what happens when you have a deficiency. A good team is going to exploit it. So Boston's got to figure that out. Of course, Tatum isn't going to play this badly every game, so that's worth noting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jalen Brown played well. He kind of worked the mid range, got to his spots. Um, but overall, Boston was horrible offensively. They went 37 for 91 from the field, but uh, saved the last few minutes. They were aggressive early. They got to the line 34 times, so that's a bright spot. Gordon Hayward, he looked pretty good. It's he hasn't really been himself since he's been in Boston, having that huge injury.
Right.
He's kind of really just working his way back. So it's more to come from him. But for the Bucks, of course, Giannis was Giannis, 36, 15, and 7. Just hell to deal with. He just like it's one thing to have a player that just bears down on you the entire game, but to have just a freakishly strong, athletic person like Giannis do it. It's like having a bruising running back in the NFL that just beats you down. Like, and then when you're not making shots on the other end, it just sucks the life out of you. And that's pretty much what happened to Boston today. And that probably lent to their decision making at the end, because when you're tired, the first thing to go
Right.
is your mind. So they just had a bad showing down the stretch. It happens. With a team like that, it it probably shouldn't happen. They're young, but they're old at the same time. Because they've been there almost. Like, 2 years ago they went to a game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Were a playoff team last year, so they had more experience than teams that are their age usually have. So yeah, I think they're gonna bounce back. It's nothing to get too worried about. It's the opener. They just trying to fill the process out, and they've already shown that they can get it done.
All right. Spurs beat the Kings 129-120. Quietly, how about this? DeMar DeRozan came out acting a whole fool.
Yes.
17 of his 27 in the fourth. And then did you see what De'Aaron Fox did? Like, they trying to end this 13-year drought with no playoffs. But your thoughts on that one?
um, yeah, man. Just it's a shame because Fox and Bogdanovich played so well, but nobody else showed up. And you hate to see that, especially for young guys. Fox had a career high 39. I also had 6 assists. Bogdanovich added 24. Um, One thing for the Kings, though, in the scrimmages, they pretty much every game they started slow,
Right.
and they did the same thing in this game. And they struggled defensively as well. They gave up a lot of second chance opportunities. Um, didn't shoot well from the outside as a team, and they were turnover prone. Those you do all those things in the same game, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna lose. Especially when on the other side you got a guy like DeMar to have a game like he had. Gave up 27 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds. Derek White also 26 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. So it was just a comedy of errors for the Kings. Like I said, everybody outside of De'Aaron Fox and Bogdanovich, just might as well should have stayed at home. Just wasn't a good showing for them.
Yeah, I think that's the thing we've seen on both sides, both WNBA and NBA side, so far as that, despite how talented the teams that are laden with so much youth, they have moments. And when you play some of these veteran teams, those moments, there's errors and then there's costly errors. It's like the young teams only make
Hmm.
the costly ones.
Right,
You know
right.
what I'm saying? Like, they don't make the ones where like you can come back from. They make the, oh, it's a one possession game. Now we're down 2 possessions. Oh, oh, and the clock's down. Oh no. All right, this next game's all you, man. I have nothing positive to say about it. I was watching Aces Mercury at this time, where teams attempted to play defense in the least bit. So I'm going to be mature here. This is on you. We're going to close with this game. So go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. If if you like defense, turn your head. This was this was bad. Like you see a game with a score like this. 153, 149. And without seeing the game, you think, wow, man, this must have been a good game. But I'm sorry, it just wasn't enjoyable to watch. Like, it's one thing if like Harden started out fast. He had 23 points in the first quarter. Went 6 for 6. Also became the second leading scorer in Rockets history. So, that's a positive. We're not gonna be all melancholy here, but if people are just making shots, then like we got shoot around for that. Like I want to see competitive defense to even further accentuate the offense. Like, so, like you, I don't have too much for this. You know, Congrats to the Rockets. Congrats to Harden. It's hard to really dissect what went on when they were just playing pitch and catch all game.
It was like I said, I had both games on, but it was tough. It was tough to force myself to look at the screen that had that game on. All right, it was really tough. Like you said, congrats to James Harden. Congrats to the Rockets too. Like they're in that little cluster in the West where everyone's kind of within 2 games. So it is important that they got the win. Although
Hmm.
once again, Houston, you're going to have to stop someone at some point in time on purpose several times to get out of a series, man. Like at some point, you're gonna have to do that. Like it's gonna have to happen. Just hey, look. Shout out to my man PJ Tucker. They said on the broadcast he got a whole extra room just for his shoes. So shout out to him to make sure his life did not change in the least bit. He had his priorities straight, clearly. Um, well, we want to thank you guys for checking out NBA Outlook Recap. We will get at you guys with very, very soon. For Raymond Lyons and Wilson Tarpey Jr., appreciate you guys. Have a great night.